is Now Homeownership series. My name is Eric Frazier. It's a beautiful day in Southern California, a great day to talk about home ownership. The Power is Now is conducting a series of interviews about homeownership and financial literacy in the month of June. The goal of the series is to interview industry professionals and first-time home buyers to talk about the importance of homeownership from a academic, economic, financial, social vantage point, and also to learn about their story, their journey to homeownership, some of the barriers they had to overcome, some challenges that they had to meet to become a first-time home buyer. So we're going to be hearing from experts and from first-time home buyers. And I tell you, homeownership is so important, especially for low to moderate income communities, for minorities, for African Americans, especially because African Americans represent the lowest rate of homeownership of all ethnic groups. With us today is Lawrence Baisley. Lawrence Baisley is a first-time home buyer of a 4-unit apartment building in San Bernardino. Now, I am so happy for him because he has experienced significant appreciation over the last 3 years. And he wasn't sure if it was going to be possible for him to buy a 4-unit building. It was a challenge, folks. Numerous offers were made. And many rejections of his offers, but he finally got one accepted. Now, Lawrence was referred to me originally by LaTanya Douglas. He's an extraordinary real estate professional in Long Beach, California. And so she introduced me to Lawrence, and we have been great friends ever since. So Lawrence is, again, the owner of a 4-unit apartment building that he bought as a first-time home buyer, utilizing FHA financing. Now, he is a plant manager with Air Liquide. He's been there since 2015. And he has a story. I mean, he was a renter, but before renting, he was even homeless. And so let's just get right to it, because nobody can tell the story better than Lawrence himself. Welcome, Lawrence Baisley, to the Power is Now Homeownership series.
And thank you for having me.
The pleasure is all mine, Lawrence. And I'm really excited about hearing your story, sharing your story. It is an honor for me to not only be your mortgage advisor, to have assisted you in acquiring this property that you currently have, but also just to hear your story. And I think a lot of people are going to be inspired about your journey to homeownership. So let's get started. Now, the first thing we do on this show is we ask all of our guests the question. It's a tradition on the Power is Now. That question is, what does the phrase, "the power is now," mean to you in the context of who you are? And also that June is homeownership. What does the power is now mean to you?
You know, I kind of look at it like time, right? The most valuable entity. It's more valuable than actual money or property, for that matter, because you can't buy it. There's almost nothing on this planet that you can trade for time. So when I think of the power is now, that's exactly what it means to me. Is now, act now, perform now, because a second later you can't buy it back.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You cannot buy back time. Once it's gone forever. So I completely agree with you. Lawrence, you are a process plant technician with Air Liquide. Can you tell us about your job and your role there with Air Liquide?
But at this particular plant in El Segundo, California, we sell hydrogen to Chevron. It's basically because of the smog restrictions and everything that the gas industry has been hit with, from having a great population in California to cut down on the smog, which is basically sulfur in the gas. We could we combine hydrogen with the sulfur to remove it or extract it from the molecule that's attached to CH4, which is methane, which is like the base product for gas, right? It's automatically included in the molecule sulfur. So they use hydrogen to remove that sulfur molecule, and that gives us cleaner burning gas at the pump.
Now, Lawrence, you make well into the six figures, and you do very well with Air Liquide. How did you actually get into the role that you currently have? And tell us a little bit about your education, where you went to school.
Well, that's exactly where it started. At school, I went for a process plant technician. It was a class offered at Los Angeles Technical Trade College. And actually, it was not a class, it was a program. And just so happened that the director of that program was a lady who I came to adore. Her name is Renee Magoon, and a Black lady. And I guess because this industry didn't have very many Blacks, and she kind of inspired me to take the class because she wanted more Blacks to be involved in it, because she knew how well you could get paid because of it. But so I was in the program. I went for a year, and at that time I didn't receive a job offer. So I had already taken all the coursework that was required to be in college, and to, I had the basics done up. Because I didn't have a job, I stayed. So that director actually offered me a job that second year, and encouraged me to continue to go to school. And since I didn't make it into the process plant technician position that year, shoot for the moon and go for engineer. So I stayed that second year, had a small job helping her out, as a student worker. And I furthered my education in that same field. I just, everybody who, the certificate wasn't good enough, basically. So I went for the degree, and that turned into 3 years. So I was almost finished my third year, and I was planning on going to university. So I was preparing, all the credits and everything that I needed to advance to a university. And I had about 4 or 5 months left, and I was living with my dad at the time, and his house had got foreclosed, and he moved on to, I don't even know where he's at today. But my mom stayed in Lancaster, which was an hour and a half away from school, so I couldn't quit school. So I was homeless. I have about 4 months to go in college, and I was due to transfer. I was due to graduate. By this time, I had already received 1 degree for going to college for my second year in process plant technology. Still didn't have a job, but that I did have that first degree, and I was on my way to looking for a university to transfer to. I became homeless, and so I lived close to my school, which was LA Trade Technical College, it's downtown Los Angeles, and they offer a lot of homeless programs at that time. So I applied for the facility. We had a lot of stringent rules. It was very hard to accept homelessness. And that became my motivation. I didn't realize that at the time, as sad as it was, that that would be one of the reasons. It would be like the pillar to my motivation to to purchase in a home. At that time, what made me, or what helped me, think of the positive part was graduating and going on to a university and doing whatever it took to make that move. And 2 months later, man, thinking back, it's pretty emotional, man.
Wow.
Excuse me. That that time,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Take your time. Take your time, man.
it was my teacher had called me and told me that you just got to call.
Right.
She said, I put your name.
Uh-huh. That's all right. Somebody needs to hear this, man.
She said, I put your name on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I put your name on the list to join the training. It's for a year, and if you want it, it's yours. She said, I actually nominated you as number one. I had to choose 6 students, but I told them my first choice would be you.
Wow.
So let me just say, the first paycheck, I wasn't homeless. So I ended up renting a shared living place.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually sharing a room. So I had a roommate, and I ended up graduating. And right as soon as I graduated, I joined that training program. It was with Air Liquide, and I was hired on after that. Well, I was actually hired first with
Mm-hmm.
full benefits and everything. And it was called a training, but it was actually employment. But that was my break into the industry. That's why I got started with Air Liquide.
Wow.
Right at the end. When I thought it was all crashing in.
Right.
So something in this universe had already set my path, because there was no looking back after that. The next stumbling block I had, though, was, it wasn't on my mind at that time to buy, right? I just came out of homeless. I wasn't thinking about purchasing a home, but I had a brother-in-law who had purchased a home, and we were talking one day, and he was telling me, hey man, you got to buy a home. You got to. I'm like, man, I ain't not into that. I can't afford that right now. And he said one phrase that caught my attention, and that's what made me start looking for a home. He said, to my reply of, I can't afford to buy a home, he said, you can't afford not to. And when he told me, it caught my attention. You can't afford not to. I'm like, well, what do you mean I can't afford not to? And he spoke of all the benefits of purchasing a home, and told me that if I was going to save all the money that I had right now, it would actually waste away if I put it under my bed, because inflation would eat that up. So if you don't put it in something very valuable or some type of commodity, he was saying that real estate was one of the best places to put the money or invest in, that it would just waste away. And that caught my attention. It made so much sense. And that's when I started looking for a home.
Lawrence, this has really been a great story, and I can tell And for those who are watching, you can see that this is an emotional story for you because it was a life-changing move made by this very special person. What is her name again?
Who? The teacher?
Yes, the teacher, yes.
Renee McJune.
Renee McJune. If you could talk to Renee right now, what would you say to her? If she were watching right now, she may be watching, what would you like to say to Renee for
Yeah,
just choosing you and helping you to get into the profession you have now?
you know, I'm sure she, as many students as she's had, I would probably just be repeating some of the things that they told her already because she's such a great person. But I actually I keep her number. I tell her Merry Christmas. And every time, some type of holiday, I send her some type of note or, message or something. But I often explain to her how my success has grown. When I purchased uh, my property, I told her.
Wow.
I told her because she knew when I was homeless. She knew it.
Mm-hmm.
She knew the struggle. So, and I'm very thankful for her edging me on. She was, like my backbone at the time. She was,
Yes.
I often call her mom
Wow.
because that's the type of relationship we had. But man, um, so when I told her, hey, I'm not homeless no more, I bought me a place. She was like, wow. And I said, I didn't want to be homeless anymore, so I made sure I bought the whole building. She was like, what? So I said, yeah, I bought me a 4-unit apartment. And she was like, oh my goodness. But man, I would say to her, thank you, Mom.
Hmm. Wow.
That's exactly what I would say to her.
You were homeless and you witnessed your parents losing their home and separating as a result of that, I assume.
Well, they were already separated. It was just my dad, and he was living in Los Angeles. My
Mm-hmm.
mom stayed in Lancaster, and she, of course, she had room for me at her home, but an hour and a half away in a vehicle, and I didn't have a car at the time. I think I had a bike. I might have been on my second bike because I remember the first one getting stolen at the school. But so I couldn't commute unless I chose a train. Train would have been 2.5 hours. I couldn't live in Lancaster. I had to accept the homelessness and push forward with that.
So how long were you homeless? And before, and then so you were homeless for a period of time, and then you rented for a period of time into some type of shelter situation. So what was that? How long was that period in your life?
It was a while. Maybe 6 months in total. But I lived in that. I didn't move for a couple of reasons out of the what they call it transitional living, the shared living place.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed there until maybe 3 months after purchasing the unit. So from I would say almost 2 years. Because at that point, I had started talking to the real estate agent prior to meeting Latanya Douglas, which was the real estate agent who helped me purchase this home. Prior to meeting her, I was already talking to another real estate agent, and that experience, you know, dealing with her, I found out that I didn't want just a home or I didn't want just a condo or a townhome. Uh, in my mind, I felt like I didn't make enough to afford $1,800, $2,000 condo, a monthly payment. Uh, I guess when it went to underwriting and or when I applied or whatever, and they looked at how much money I made, they said that I could um, afford that, but I didn't, in my mind, I couldn't afford it, or I would have been struggling to pay, and it didn't sit well. And when I bumped into a duplex, I said, you know what, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that would help me pay a mortgage. Why would I be looking for just paying a mortgage? Because I'm a single man. I have two children, and I don't have a counterpart or a wife to assist with paying this, mortgage. I need help. And I thought that the best help would be a duplex or triplex. And when I posed that question to that at that time, the real estate agent that I was talking to, she told me that FHA would not allow me to purchase a duplex. So the thought of well, what's reasonably priced as far as a single family unit? I thought I was thinking more 1,500 and not 2,000, but the prices in Los Angeles didn't. That's not how that went. 1,500 was unspeakable. So with that, I chose to separate from that real estate agent because we couldn't find anything reasonable, and it just didn't feel right moving into a multifamily. Um, so I was staying. I didn't at the time the shared living. I was able to save so much money, enough for a down payment that I didn't want to move, or I didn't find it, wasn't uh, wise to move. If I could have afforded my own apartment. I could have afforded to move into a very nice apartment, having process plant technician pay. I could afford that, but it didn't make sense to move into an apartment and not be able to save the money that I needed to save in order to, have a down payment.
So you're willing to make that sacrifice and stay in that environment, even though you had the ability to purchase a home on your own or to rent a place on your own, not necessarily to purchase. And it's interesting that you mentioned that you actually qualified. So you're working with a different agent before LaTanya Douglas and before me.
Yeah,
You actually qualified with another agent and for the homes they were showing you, but you didn't feel yourself that you could actually afford it. And I tell people all the time that what you qualify is rarely what you can qualify for is rarely what you can afford. You need to do a budget because nobody pays a mortgage with their gross income. They pay it with their net income, and that's what you're looking at, right? What the actual cash flow coming through from your net paycheck and determining whether or not you could afford to pay.
exactly.
So you made this transition between one agent to another, and she then turned you on to me.
And that's not how quite that went. Not quite, but it's close. But so we were looking for a while before we found you, and um, you know, uh, through searching, she got to know me a little better. She knew what my desires were, and she knew what I was looking for. And not sure if it's safe to say I'm not a racist, but I prefer to share my dollars with Black people, and
Mhm.
I want it's not much, I'm sure, but if I was going to have this uh, transaction to be done, I would want my people to benefit from whatever it is. I don't know how much everybody makes, but I would rather grow with my people.
Yes.
And so when she found out about that, she said, "Well, I have a guy I'm going to see tonight. I think you had a radio show or something that she was watching that night, or she was going to some seminar where you were there." And she said she came back after that seminar, and the next day we were scheduled to see. Uh, uh, I forget the name of his name, but we were scheduled to see a lender. And she told me, hey, I just met this guy last night. I went to the seminar. This is the guy that I want you to meet because he fits your desires. And she was speaking to you. So that's how that went.
Well, I'm glad that she made the introduction and we were able to connect. And you went from looking for a single family to duplexes, of which you told you could not get with FHA, to ultimately buying a 4-unit building
Yes,
and
sir.
going from being homeless to not a house, but only 4 houses, all under one roof. And folks, we're going to get into that in more detail in just a minute. Um, Lawrence, now having gone through this process, and I know you have friends and family members, heck, your parents, losing their home. What are some of the barriers that you see, to home ownership in your community and within your family?
Well, the first barrier is this information is just not taught in school. When it comes to financial or, uh, you know, buying something and having power, or buying something that will establish great power or the ability to do things that, most cannot. This information, that barrier is that they don't offer it in my school, and no school that I went to and been in college 3 years, and they didn't speak nothing of it. And I had to take every class from chemistry to economics, and they didn't speak of money management, credit history, or how to repair credit, or what you need to move forward to make great moves. Right? Not purchasing a 4-unit wasn't uh, a baby step. That was a huge move. One of the I blow my mom's mind, and she owns property now, looking to buy her second home, and she still don't understand how it works, or because she wasn't taught it. And so that was a barrier. And to me, just being Black is a barrier because of the education that's offered in that general area. But other barriers are credit, which at the time I didn't have a problem establishing. I started establishing it once I got a job, but that's another barrier. Um, there's quite a few out there, but I think that those are very important. The lack of education, and particularly about how money works, and uh, credit.
But you had also the lack of mentors and people, in your family that could show you how to
Yeah,
do it, or in your community even that were willing to share that information. Would you consider that a community barrier as well?
yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes, sir.
What were some of the barriers that you had to overcome personally? You mentioned one, getting, overcoming homelessness, getting a job, and then when you got the job, you were to start building credit. What were some of the things that you had to do personally to put yourself in a position to buy?
Well, um, that barrier I thought would be the barrier that I'm gonna speak of. I thought would be a barrier initially, which was child support. And the reason why I speak of this is because the fear of being in debt, child support, not just regular child support where you make the monthly payment, because I was making that, but I had gathered up in debt child support, um, which put a fear in me to move forward into purchasing. One fear is that you get all of these letters in the mail saying how they're gonna uh, take property. They will take, and they had. I had gotten paid on a few occasions, went to my bank account, and all that money was gone. Every last dime. A matter of fact, the bank account was overdrawn, so I got an extra charge on top of overdrawn. So not only did they take the whole paycheck, but they put me in a hole, and you know that was a barrier, very hard to do. Um, I found a way uh, to get uh, by, I
Mhm.
guess. The debit card that the school offered, I kept that
Mhm.
because I noticed that when I received my financial aid, child support never knew nothing of that account. And
No.
that was one barrier for me. I
Mhm.
don't know if you remember, but it was very difficult to get the down payment out of that account and into escrow
Right.
because I had an account that was out of state. It wasn't here, and I think that that's one reason that child support didn't find out about it, or they just don't touch. I guess government giving money. I'm not sure why,
Mhm.
but it was hard for me because I couldn't hold down a bank account. Right. Still, I had to find a way to save this money. And it had to be accounted for. It had to be, um, it had to be, what do you call it? Had to be visible, right? It couldn't be,
Source. Yeah, identify.
yeah, it had to be a source income. So it was able to be that,
Mhm.
but child support wasn't attacking it. And I'm telling you, I've had several other bank accounts. They take all of it. It
Right.
was it was one bank that was kind enough, which is I work for Air Liquide. We are contractors to Chevron,
Mhm.
um, the petroleum gas industry
Mhm.
side, and their credit union allows for $3,500 to stay into that account as to not put their employees in what they call hardships. So they tell the child support that you cannot, you can take everything over 3,500, but 3,500 we will not give you. So
Mhm.
I was able to live, under the radar, so to speak. With having that, I was, 3,500. I was able to live and do small transactions, and then use my school account to hold the larger amount of money that they weren't savagely taking.
Mhm.
um, so that was one barrier for me that was very, and I'm just now getting out of it. I'm just now, and I'm gonna tell you, it's because of this apartment building and the ability to be able to live rent free that I paid off over $50,000 in child support because of the amount of taxes that I didn't have to pay because I own property and because I'm upgrading and because I'm using those funds. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call them funds, but using those receipts of upgrades to
Mhm.
actually pay down my child support. Right. That's one strategy that, man, I make upgrades to my property.
Mhm.
I write off tax. Uh, I write off my taxes with that very money. That money is given to child support to pay down the debt on child support without money actually coming out my. Well, it is coming out of my pocket, but I'm also benefit from it, right? From having a much more beautiful apartment than before. Eric, is very difficult for me to think about what are barriers. When I think of barriers, I quickly jump over them. I don't get stuck on them, and I don't look at them as barriers. I look at it, how can I get past this and get on? Because I know as soon as a barrier is presented, as the faster I get over that barrier, the quicker I can attack my goal.
Lawrence, and I appreciate you saying that because that's exactly what you did. You were in attack mode and addressing these issues. So I want to make something clear though for those who are listening and watching. So the money that you owed in child support was in addition, this was kind of back child support during that period, right? Of going to school, not working, what have you, and you had children. But you were actually paying the regular required child support, which is what enabled us to be able to do a loan for you. You were not behind in your regular child support, what you needed to get current on or to pay was the back child support, correct?
Correct. That is correct. They call it arrears,
Mm-hmm.
and those arrears totaled over $50,000. And I was paying because, well, I wasn't willingly paying. I would have willingly paid, but they didn't offer that to me. They took it directly out of my check,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it wasn't my opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity to pay the arrears by them deducting it out my check before I seen it. They took it. They garnished the child support, the current child support. So I remained up to date with that current child support. But I also had to pay back the arrears with my own personal. And for those who don't know it, that actually showed up on my credit report as a positive. When you pay back the arrears,
You're
uh,
right.
that shows up as a positive, which increased my credit score because I paid it on time. It was amazing to me. I didn't know that that's how it worked, but it helped my credit score because I made on-time payments.
Wow. Well, clearly no one should be getting behind, and definitely you got to pay, your child support, and you are doing that. But the system is not easy to deal with when you fall behind, right? Is you gotta face the music.
That is true. Absolutely.
Now you worked through that and were able to acquire this property that you currently have, and we're going to get into, folks, the details of the particular property that I was able to help Lawrence finance and where he's at today. Now, Lawrence, and as you spoke earlier about, working through barriers, you made some money moves, man. You really got serious about your finances. And can you talk about some of the best, money moves you made during this time to get in a position to buy?
The best money moves, well, let me tell you about my worst, and that will help the best money move shine. The same amount of money that I purchased a Mercedes-Benz GL 450, in order to acquire the 4-unit complex, I paid less for the complex than I did that car. So uh, I'm saying that to say is when I look at that car, as shiny as it is, and the clean leather and the nice blowing AC, it saddens me to think that, damn it, that's a apartment building sitting right there.
Mm.
So to make clear what I'm trying to say is that purchasing a car, for some reason, I thought by purchasing that car and putting it on 24-inch rims and shining up the tires and turning the music up real loud, I thought that that was the proof that I was making some money now. And it's actually slightly depressing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like driving it, but I look at it as my other apartment building now that I don't have yet, because I don't have it because it's sitting out there in my driveway. What a silly, silly mistake that was. But I was trying to satisfy my ego. So one of the things that I had to address financially right there is that by purchasing assets, or that's not even an asset, but purchasing items that do not appreciate in value is a no-no, right? I can take that same amount of money. I spent that same amount of money at Home Depot last year, and or the year before that. And when I got my apartment building appraised, I think I spent 19,000 and something at Home Depot last year on repairs for the building. When I got it reappraised, it was almost $66,000 in improvements, and I didn't do much. But
Right.
what I'm saying is what I spent at Home Depot was the same amount that I spent for that car.
Wow.
And the ability for that, those tools or drywall or whatever I spent to increase the value at the building was worth more money than I could possibly see. That car is not worth. I think I paid 21,000 for it. It's not worth 21,000. I think I tried to turn it in. They wanted to give me $6,500, right after I spent all of that money. So buying things that do not appreciate in value is a no-no in my book now, and I still have it, and I want a brand new car back, and that's just to say, just because I want to have it. But the brighter side or the wiser side says, I think you should get that apartment building, that next apartment building first.
Mm-hmm. So the money move was that you paid off the car, right? Or what did you do?
The money move was to not put no more money into that car unless it was just regular maintenance, and the money move was to I have the money now to go buy. I want a Toyota Tundra, a real bad, but the money move is to keep the money in the bank or in something that I can make a money move with. Is not to go buy that item that will depreciate over time. Buy one that appreciates over time, and that's property. That's with having a 4 unit, that's double or triple, or
Yes.
maybe even 4 times, because you outdo the person even with the property. I'm not saying that purchasing property is or a single family is not wise. That's better than but renting.
Renting.
But
Yes.
it's not when it comes to buying property. I get, I'm gonna tell you something. When I put the money down on this house, on this apartment building, initially I had to give it the money, but uh, I was already getting paid money back. I actually only spent out of pocket $8,000, $8,000 is what it cost out of pocket, because I was already collecting rent before escrow closed. So the amount I spent, like I say, I spent less for my apartment building than I did for my car. So when I look at that car, it's kind of saddening because I know it's an apartment building sitting on wheels.
Wow. Man, what a way to look at it. Expenses like cars. And I have to tell you that, I take hundreds of applications, and the number one reason why I'm not able to help somebody, at least right now, because I never say no. I may say not now, but I never say no. But it is a car payment. It is a car payment from a few $100s, $300-400 to $2,500 a month that people are paying in car payments, and they don't own a home. And if it's a husband and wife and they both have car payments, you're looking at $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month. So it is really a serious, I would say, detriment to their overall financial picture. What were some other moves you made financially, like in managing your money, saving money, some of the things you did that you also would recommend to others? So I know one is don't finance a vehicle, right? Do
Yeah.
not finance a vehicle. What are some other money moves, budgeting moves you made that you would recommend also to others?
I would have to say upgrading the if you own already, upgrading the you know
Well, I'm speaking primarily of prior to buying a home. I'm talking in
okay.
preparation to buying a home. What are some of the things, because we're going to talk about after buying a home, but what are some of the other money moves you made to position yourself to buy? And then two, I want to note here, you resolved the child support issue after you bought a home.
That's
Right? You got into it, you had payment arrangements and everything. And this is something that for those who are dealing with child support, you need to know that if you're current on your child support and you have payment arrangements on any arrears you have, that will not stop you from buying a home. You just have to make enough income so that we can fit those payments into your debt to income ratio. Now, in Lawrence's case, he was able to do that and move forward with the transaction. But Lawrence, one thing I was impressed about you was your ability to save money. And, talk about what other things you did to just get in a position to buy.
Credit was another.
Mhm.
I would take and live off the credit card. Now I know that this is not going to sound, and you won't be convinced until you do it or you learn how to properly use the credit. But once you get the credit, it's not to put the credit card in your back wallet and only use for emergencies. At least that's not how I did it. What I did was I lived through that credit card and managed the unnecessary things to purchase, right? I didn't purchase things unless they were necessary, and it was because I had a goal. But you want to build that credit by living through that credit card. So um, what I mean by that is I slide my credit card on everything. I put automatic payments or automatic, um, and it's even a better way to do it than that. But if you want less responsibilities of having to stay or having to micromanage money, I put it on automatic payment, pay the statement balance off in full, but continuously sliding all of the, I have one credit card that I know all of my expenses is going to go to that particular credit card, and I'll put that credit card on an automatic payment to relieve myself of having responsibility to remember the exact day that I'm supposed to make that payment. But I'm using it responsibly because I'm paying the necessary things, anything to do with the unit, anything to do with, living just, needs. I
Mhm.
use that credit card. And if I want to splurge, I have a credit card that, again, is on automatic payment, but I don't go uh, crazy with using that credit card. But that's what helped increase my credit score. That's what it went on autopilot, and all I had to do was not be particular about how be particular about how much I'm spending, and not be particular about when to make the payment. Just put it on. I just put it on automatic payment, automatic statement balance, automatic payment, and that was one thing that I did. And then I
Now,
ended up getting. I'm sorry.
let me to clarify something. So you have all of the necessities on that are automatically tied to be paid by the credit card, and then it is scheduled to be paid off automatically, the entire balance each and every month. And by doing so, you're able to improve your credit score. But I think also you're getting points or something too, right? I mean, you must have a lot of
Oh
points.
yeah. Oh yeah, you're getting, I mean, it's so many, it is. Well, I'm glad you said that because doing that, you get points back, right? So you're actually spending less for what you're purchasing at normal price, because by using a credit card, see, I don't believe in using debit cards or debit accounts or using my cash to pay, right? There's no value. There are so many points. I'm paying off an entire credit statements with points, all points. Like one month might be completely free out the year. Uh, if I use that credit card, and then like right now, I just redone the driveway. Perfectly good example. I redone my driveway and my backyard, repaved. I'm sorry. I paid for it via a credit card. I didn't have the money um, come straight out my debit account and pay the guy that way. I let it be. Uh, I applied for a credit card that told me 0% interest for 12 months. That means that I don't have to pay, which I don't allow that to go unpaid, but I don't have to pay. I'm not forced to pay, and I did that on my business account so that when I purchased my next unit, or right now I'm refinancing. When I refinance that uh, old that amount that's owed isn't on um, my personal credit line. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if it appears if you do deep research, but as of right now, my business is in debt for the paving of my driveway in my backyard, not me personally.
Right.
So when I didn't, it's not taking a hit on my, I'm not, my credit isn't dropping when I make that $7,000, when I'm, when I have to pay back, or now that I owe $7,000,
Hmm.
it's not on my personal credit that I owe that money. So it doesn't, I'm using it so that it doesn't affect my personal credit while I'm refinancing. But it's just a strategy that I developed not too long ago. But it comes from using my personal credit, because now on some reports I'm an 827, or others I'm a 790 something. So, and I don't want that to go down at the time because I'm refinancing. So I use my business credit to make purchases like that, especially since it's going to business, and I don't have to pay that back um, until 12 months. So the interest is free for 12 months. So I can pay that back, as long as I pay it back before 12 months. I don't have to pay any extra money. And it's also not affecting my credit score, but it's increasing my business credit line
Hmm.
as I make those payments towards that. And to quite candidly, my tenants will make that payment, not me. It won't come out my pocket. My the extra money that I receive from my tenants will
Right.
pay back that credit card um, payment. Since I have such a long time, they'll pay it back, and I'll steal. So essentially, that's it. Is you you don't have. When my friend told me you can't afford not to purchase property,
Hmm.
that's what he meant.
Yeah.
If you want to make some of the greatest moves, you need property to do that, or you need residual income, and you can do that through property or unit. You can do property and residual income through having a unit. It's just a beautiful thing, man. But Eric, I forget the original question. I think I read.
No, no, you're doing fine. What I like about the moves you're making, first establishing business credit, and again, we're going to get into the details of his acquisition, his 4-unit building, and how he has become not only a homeowner from homeless to homeownership, but also an investor, and from an investor to a business owner, because that's what you have when you buy business property. So you established a business line of credit and used that money, that $7,000, to improve the driveways, which is an investment in appreciating the value of the property, which then enables you to raise the rents on your property. And that's where the money's coming from to pay the debt that you're
Yeah.
incurring on improving that property. You're making all the right moves, and you're leveraging now your personal credit to improve your business credit, and eventually will be in a position where you don't need to use your personal credit at all. And that's a whole nother interview that we could have a conversation about business credit versus personal credit. Let's end this segment with your top five reasons that anyone who is renting right now should do whatever they have to do to buy a home.
The first is the rent that I collect from two tenants is enough to pay the mortgage entirely. So not only do I live rent free, but I take an additional tenant's rent and put that in my pocket. Now, putting it in my pocket is not likely, because what I do, and what I should have included on the last comment, is that the reinvesting of the money that you collected. Because when I first started out, it wasn't very much. It was pennies, maybe $100 or so. 3 years ago when I initially collected rent. It paid the mortgage. It allowed me to live rent free. But that's another one there. That's the second one, rent free. Who lives rent free? You can, right? And they say, oh, ain't nothing for free. You know, you're going to pay rent and you're going to pay taxes. Well, I don't pay no rent. I promise you, I don't pay no rent. In fact, FHA, make sure before you even get the loan, they looking out for you, saying that if you're not living rent free, they won't even give you the loan. So you're protected right there just automatically off the fact that, you know, that's a part of the criteria that you need to meet. What do you call it, Eric?
The sufficiency coverage ratio.
The sufficiency ratio. Yeah. So not only is it rent free, that's number two. Number one is not to pay rent. To pay rent, you're only helping the person who's paying the mortgage. You can take that same rent and make a mortgage payment, right? What's missing there is credit and responsibility. If you're willing to be responsible for the minor repairs that accrue, like, you know, my tenants make phone calls to me. My plumbing is bad. Well, I call a plumber, right? All I'm doing is transferring the information. But if you take that responsibility, the amount that I spend on the plumber doesn't come out of my pocket. It comes out of their rent paying, right? And if I see, or if I upgrade the whatever situation, I have more room to and more reason to increase rent, right? The more upgrades I place and the more upgrades that I put, and I enjoy those things. I love going outside and playing in my little garden that I created, right? But I'm not paying for it. They are, right? And it may seem a little cruel, but that's the way business goes, though. You pay for the labor that I put into pays me back, and it's through their contribution. All right, ain't nothing like living on another person's dime, I'll tell you that. But so I'm at two. What was the question again?
So the top 5 reasons, the top 5, give me as many as you can here for that someone renting should buy a home now.
So renting, like I said, is equivalent to, if not less, you may even pay less than what you would pay to a person, or, you know, for your mortgage. You may pay less for the mortgage than you do for renting in some places, right? That's for sure. Not only does by you having a mortgage and that responsibility, but it's yours and it grows in value, right? Well, I was gonna keep it a secret, but it's no point because you can go on Willow or Zillow and see that my building initially was 405,000. Going on Zillow right now is 544,000. So I'm a little over $500,000, and I hadn't paid much out of I hadn't paid nothing out of my pocket, as a matter of fact, in order for that to see that increase, right? The tenants paid it. Another reason, so the money that you put or the money that you pay in mortgage has a return value, right? It increases your credit. It increases the value in your place just by holding on to it, right? It is automatically going up. Another reason to stop renting and pay your own mortgage. Let me tell you, I'll make the rules, right? I got 3 other tenants. Well, 3 other tenants, and they all have either a husband or a wife. And so that's 6 people who have to listen to my instructions. I make the rules, right? I tell them what to do, right? I paint the inside the color that I want, right? I don't I don't you, I don't know if you call that uh, I don't know what you call having that power, but having that ability and using it or not is to my discretion, right? That's pretty rewarding. It's very rewarding uh, pulling up in a driveway that completely belongs to me. When I told you about that Mercedes Benz, I was pulling that Mercedes Benz up into another person's driveway. I kind of, at that time, I guess I was getting older and gaining more knowledge about property and investing and financing and how money works and depreciating value. At that time, I felt silly driving that Mercedes Benz on 24s, shining with armor all and everything. I was putting that in somebody else's driveway. I'm proud for that Mercedes. I parked it right in the front. I took a picture because I'm proud of pulling in my driveway and in front of my property instead of pulling it in front of that. That feeling is out of this world.
I think you've said it all there, and that feeling of ownership, the pride that comes with it, all those are great reasons why anyone renting right now should buy. We're talking to Lawrence Baisley. He's a process plant technician with Air Liquide. It's a company based in Paris. He works out in Los Angeles, California. He's a first-time home buyer, and his first home was a 4-unit apartment building. And he's just sharing his experiences, folks, in his own way and his challenges to get where he is today. And to me, he is a representative of so many people who are dealing with challenges as extreme as even homelessness, but through hard work and absolute dedication to doing whatever it took to overcome those barriers, was able to achieve the American dream of homeownership. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into the details of how he was able to buy that 4-unit building. You're listening to the Power is Now Homeownership series. We'll be right back right after this commercial break.
There is nothing more exciting than the purchase of your new home. The Homebuyer Seminar is here to help you achieve the American dream of home ownership right now. We talk about access to lenders and nonprofits who are willing to give you the down payment for your home when others are not. That is right. The down payment assistance is not a loan, it is a gift. Find us at thepowerisnow.com and let us talk about how you will own your home today and live the American dream. The future is now. Watch us live on Facebook every Tuesday or in replay on the Power is Now YouTube channel.
And we're back. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Power is Now Homeownership series. We're talking to Lawrence Baisley, and he's sharing his experience in buying a home and all the wonderful benefits that he has received in doing so. And I'm moved by his story, from homelessness to an owner of a 4-unit building, folks. It doesn't get better than that. It really doesn't. Lawrence, again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to share your story and for being so transparent about all you went through to get to where you are today. So let's talk about now the property in question. Now, you work in Los Angeles, but you own a home and you live in this property in San Bernardino. And so let's talk about that first of all, because a lot of people, man, they aren't willing to make that sacrifice. And I know prior to meeting me, and even while working with me, you were looking to try to find something in the Los Angeles area and had to go all the way to San Bernardino to find something that you could qualify for in the area of 4 minutes. Talk about your mindset here as to why you made that change.
That was an unexpected question. You didn't put this in comments here. You said to me, but I'm glad you asked it, because the way that I look at that is, I sell my time to my job, and I bag that time with education, and they pay me for it. So there's a value to my time because of what I know. And when I look at that drive from Los Angeles to San Bernardino, I was in question at first of, could I do it? Is it worth it? Well, I'm gonna say absolutely, because I get paid at my job for my time and my education, and I get paid at my apartment building. There's value there, and I can see that value. I see that value monthly, and that monthly payment that I receive from my tenants is more than what I receive from my job. So I would say I kind of convinced myself that this drive is definitely worth it. I can sit on my backside, enjoy the ride, turn on some music and my AC or heater if it's cold, and get paid. So it's satisfying, it's rewarding, it's paying me, and I'm loving it.
Well, that's a great attitude to have, and many people don't. They look at the commute as something that just cannot deal with, and no matter what. And here you're saying that you're getting paid to deal with that commute because the income from those units is, at least equal to that of what you're paying, what you're getting paid to make that commute to work. Yeah. It is another job, so to speak, yeah. Right? You are managing your own property.
I look at it as having an additional job, right? It's my second job. But it's more than just that, right? Because see, before me actually having a job and before I was homeless, I was an entrepreneur. I owned my own business, but I didn't go about the right way to function that business. I didn't go create an LLC. I didn't do the what a normal American-made business is supposed to do, get an EIN and things of that nature. I didn't do that, but I didn't have a job, and I created my own work, and I did entrepreneurship things that was just like owning my own business. And the same with this business. The same with this apartment complex. I made this my business, right? And that's the mindset that it took. This is my business. I own this place. I create the rules. I create the times that I work. And see, that pays me more than just cash. It pays me spiritually as well, right? This belongs to me. And if I want this to be successful, if I want this to make me money and in turn make my children money, I do the best that I can do at it today. I get a reward for it, and it comes through cash and as well as spiritual. There's a spiritual payment there.
That is awesome. Now, for those of you who may not know this, but you can buy a 4-unit building with only 3.5% down using FHA, or no money down if you're a veteran. It's 0 money down if you're a veteran. So 3.5% down FHA, 0 down VA. Now, Lawrence is not a veteran, and so he utilized FHA. Normally, if you're going to buy a 4-unit property using conventional financing, or if you own a home already and you want to buy a 4-unit property, it's 25% down. 25% down, folks, of the purchase property. That would have cost Lawrence $100,000 plus closing costs had he tried to acquire this 4-unit property after buying a single-family home. Lawrence, let's talk about the transaction in detail. So what was the purchase price and how much did you put down?
So my original, the asking price was $420,000. After the appraisal, it was $405,000. I had put $10,000 in good faith money towards, I guess it went to escrow, and we had ended up requesting $10 more thousand for repairs and some other things from the seller. So that the payment with the amount that they were going to pay, the 10,000, and the collection of rent, I think the last closing payment was only $1,200 or something like that. And then that's what brought that. So that's about $11,000 that maybe close to 12 that I had to physically pay out my pocket. But I was able to recoup some of that money and bring it down to the 8,000 I was talking about earlier that I only had to pay out of pocket because another rental payment was coming through just after escrow closed. So like I said, about $8,000 is about all I had to pay out of pocket. And I think it was $395,000 left to pay,
Yeah, the final loan amount.
Yes.
So the minimum contribution on an FHA loan is 3.5%. And so on 400,000, that's about 14,000. And so what you're talking about though are the credits that you receive from rents that were held over during that escrow period, as well as credits you receive for repairs that had to be applied to closing costs because the landlord didn't want to actually do the repairs. Some repairs were done, but not all of them. And so net, after it's all closed and done, and then with credits coming back to you from rents, you're out about $8,000 with a mortgage of $395. What was your monthly payment and what were your rents at the time?
At the time, the rents were $900. Each unit was $900, and I was receiving 3 of those, and I was living in one. And the monthly payment at that time was I believe it was 2,800 and something, and I just paid 2,900 because of excuse me. I take that back. I think it was 2,700.
Yeah, you had about $200 in cash flow.
Yeah, I think it was more like no, 2,700.
Yeah.
And I was paying 2,900 just because. But might have been less than that though. Might have been more like 2,600.
Because you did have you had a couple $100 in cash.
Yeah, I did. I had to in order to satisfy the loan.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was 3 years ago. I refinanced after a year, so that payment didn't last long, and
you've increased rents over the same period of time as well.
Definitely increased rents. So I don't remember exactly how much that was, but it was definitely less, and I was paying extra just because it was, I had the money to pay, so I just paid it. But when I refinance into this one currently, I'm paying $2,680. But the rents aren't $900 anymore. Each unit now is over $1,000 in each unit. Some pay a little bit more than that because I charge for pets, and then at 2 units, 1 unit was actually converted that they were only charging $900 for initially, but it's actually a 2-bedroom, so I increased that rent to almost $1,100 now, and I realized that when I started to do repairs, that this unit has an extra den. So I was able to charge more for that. And one unit I charge for pets, and then another unit I charge for an extra adult. So I'm charging for anything that's and I should, when I take a look at because I recently acquired when I was looking to for to use my building as a business, I wanted to offer the ability to either serve the veterans and allow them to take precedence here, and they were willing to pay $1,250 for so my rents should be $1,250, and I'm working towards that. I have to find or create reasons as to why, and I do that through pet fees, uh, additional persons, upgrades, right? I find creative ways to increase the rents by adding extra value to the building in order to so now I'm looking at more like 3,200.
Is the total that you're getting about 3,200 right
Yes,
now?
a month.
And your payment?
My payment is 2,600.
So that's about a little over $600 a month in cash flow, and that's after making the payment, right? So
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So having a business, having income come in, having tenants, being in control of your destiny, if you will. How did it feel when you got the keys and started, doing all these things? I mean, what would you say would be the number one feeling or emotion that came across you?
To be honest, tears.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when I compare myself from the start of it, right? It was when I was in college. That's when I decided to turn my life around. I have to make this turn, and I don't mean just like slight turn. I had to stop what I was doing and make a complete turn in order to get to where I'm at today. And within these 3 years, it took about a total of 6 years since that, you know, since I had to make that turn
Mm-hmm.
and go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at where I was at that time, it's drastic. I, I, I don't have any friends that are in the position from that time that I started. None of my friends are in the position that I am today. It's because I made that turn that today exists. And no one at that time is in comparison to the things that I've established. I wish I would have done it 6 years prior to that and 6 years prior to that, but I didn't. So the feeling is saddening because if I didn't choose to turn and I choose to do, it's saddening because I know where I was headed if I didn't make that turn, which wasn't very far. I look at those friends that I had at that time, the people that I associated with at that moment within that time prior to me making that turn, they haven't gained as much ground as I've gained in 6 years. And I'm not saying it to brag, but I compare it mine to them, and I'm who they come to for advice. And I have a couple of years of college, but I'm not all that smart. I take advice from different men. So I use you, Eric, as a mentor, regardless if you know it or not. But it's you and people who have already made the turn, who already know, hey, this is the direction I'm going in. You can come. It's that direction that I'm headed, and the ground that I've gained is far exceeds the people who I was once associated with right? In comparison, I know where that leads. So now can I borrow? Or how do I repair my credit? Or what did you do? Right? I'm who they come to. And I have to find a new set of friends because I can't go to them, right? I can't lean on them how they lean on me now. So it's saddening when I think of, the friends that I had to kind of let them go. Not necessarily let them go, but I can't depend on them to teach me more, right? I have to go. I had good thing I took that turn. So, and at the same time, living in yesterday is sad. Living in today is wonderful because, just having the ability to purchase something if I go and like I use a car as, something that I don't, I use a car as one of the reasons why I don't like making financial decisions and putting money into something that loses value. But if I wanted, I can go get whatever car that I want right now. It's my decision to turn that car down. It's not, they won't turn me down. They want they want me to be the one that they loan that money to get that car, right?
Right.
I'm the person sought after to make that deal.
Right.
And that's very rewarding when somebody wants you to be there.
Yes.
So I see the sadness in it, but man, what great joy I'm living today.
That's awesome. And you are living the dream. You are living the dream, and you should be happy. And you're making some serious moves. Someone said a long time ago, your network affects your net worth. The people who you hang out with, the people you get advice from, they will have an impact on your life, either negatively or positively. Your network does affect your net worth. So I appreciate what you're saying on having to, change your environment and to position yourself to continue to grow. And I'm happy to be one of those people you consider your trusted advisors as you're continuing to make great money moves. So Lawrence, tell us about your parents. I know you mentioned earlier that your dad or your mom lost their home in foreclosure. Did your parents ever sit down with you and talk to you about homeownership and about, financial principles and things of that nature?
My dad owned a home in Los Angeles, and my mom currently owns a home in Lancaster. My dad is the one who had a foreclosure. The principles and things of that nature, is oddly enough, they didn't offer that. They didn't have it to offer, really. My mom, when I was purchasing my home, my mom had been 5 or 6 years into purchasing her home. But I don't think she understands the benefits other than it just being a traditional thing to do for a person who can afford it. She doesn't use her money. She doesn't use her property to make money. And she often comes to me. That's the thing. She comes to me for the principles, right? I just picked it up through you along the way. So she purchased a home for the fact of living the American dream with the white picket fence and a dog. She did not purchase a home for all of the benefits that it offers. Totally different. So she doesn't have that value to give to me. But it is one of the wisest things to do. If you're not going to do nothing, she knew better than continue to throw her money away and pay rent. She went to purchase the home. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get those principles. But she did encourage me to purchase a home, but and that was one of the reasons that I looked into it. But she didn't have much to offer as far as, principles and savings, things like that. No.
Now, what about you as a father of two children? What are your plans for your family? Do you plan to help them purchase a home? Do you sit down and talk with them about financial matters? And, do they know what you've accomplished, your girls?
I have one child who's about to be 19. I have one who's 14. The 14-year-old, she don't understand. But what I've personally done, and so it's not coming through education, but and they won't have to anyway. Their grandparents own several properties, which will end up into their mom's possession, which will eventually end up to them. But my goal here is to at least have two, because I have two children. I'm currently working on having a third, so that would make me have to go get a third property, a third building. But eventually it'll be theirs. I mean, that's my goal, which is one reason that I would like to put this building into the business's name. She can have one. My youngest daughter will have one. Now, as far as me teaching, man, I'm gonna tell you, at 19, she don't want to hear much of what I have to say. Everything that I tell her is, the wrong thing at this point, because it's not what she want to do. But she is in college, and but she's not ready for those talks just yet. And neither is my 14-year-old. But I try to put little nuggets, that can stick with them. So, once I detect that that they have a good understanding of, then I can move forward. Right now, it's maybe too early, and I was kind of like that at a young age. I didn't really want to, I didn't really have time to pay attention to, those things. And maybe that's why it's not in schools, because they know the kids not listening or not attentive or what have you. I don't know, but it's not their time just yet to understand. All I can do is set them up. So what I do personally, though, I put my oldest daughter, she's in college, I put her as a user on my credit cards, so that she can receive the benefits of having good credit, right? She get my credit history, she get my on-time payment, and it helps boost her credit score. So I put her on 3 of my credit cards with the longest standing history.
Mm-hmm.
I put her to increase that credit score, and I also created her an account and she doesn't even know about any of these things, but where I'm in control of it, and until I see that she's competent to handle that without overdrawing and spending money that you just don't have. But until I see that, I probably won't relinquish. So I keep the credit card, I keep the debit card. Is money going in it? And she's she's the beneficiary of all my. She just don't know it, but and I don't think handing her that information is wise at the moment, because she isn't ready. But in the background, I'm setting her up for success.
That's great. Well, your child, and and children all mature at different rates and different levels to be able to take on more responsibility. And it's great that through your own experience, you know what she needs to have in place. She needs to have credit. And as she, comes of age and is more open to learning and seeing what dad is doing, you're ready to expose and to educate her so she can perhaps go down a similar path.
Absolutely.
Well, Lawrence, this has been a really great interview. I'm glad you're part of the Homeownership series and celebrating, homeownership and what it means to everyone, and especially to African Americans. We have the lowest rate of homeownership of any other group. And we're doing our part here at The Power Is Now to inspire and educate as many people as possible to make homeownership a priority like you have done. Do you have any final words of encouragement or thoughts you would like to share before we end this interview today?
You know, I just want to say that through the struggle of trying to get to a level where you can at least see the playing field, right? That's the hardest part. Everything else is smooth sailing, because once you have it set in your mind that I'm choosing a different direction, the hardest part is making that decision to turn. I just want to encourage those who are at that point to where, you know, because I'm sure that you're hearing, especially if you're watching this, you are hearing it somewhere in your life that it's some decisions that you need to make, some turns, a different direction that you need to go in. If you're hearing this, then you definitely have been hearing it prior to this. This is what makes you interested in listening this far, right? Is that you've been hearing it before, and it's time. I just want to say that the time is now. If you do it now, it's going to be so much easier in the end and so much more rewarding. That's about all I have to offer.
Lawrence Baisley, living the power is now. Living it, folks. Owner of a 4-unit property in San Bernardino, California. In 3 years, that property is up almost $150,000, enjoying about $600 a month in cash flow, not paying rent, saving more money than he's probably ever saved in his life. He's living the dream because of homeownership. Thank you, Lawrence, for joining us today. And I want to encourage everybody who is watching or listening to the podcast to take action now. The power is now to buy. Go to Qualify to Buy now. Download my mobile app and schedule a time to meet with me. And if you would like to meet Lawrence, he's very friendly, as you can see, very transparent, very authentic. He will tell you the truth of what you got to do to make homeownership your reality. I'm loving this series. I hope you are too. I want you to continue to follow us as we interview more first-time home buyers and industry leaders about homeownership. It is inspirational, it is educational, and if you have been inspired in any way, let us know. Drop me an email at eric.frazier@thepowerisnow.com. Put it in the chat box. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, let us know and share this information with others. Somebody you know, if you're watching or listening, needs to hear this today. I'm confident of it. Share the link. All right, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share the information. Well, remember, we are at our best and we maximize our success when we act now. The power is now. Thank you for listening.